Welcome back to week 4 of our hip mobility series here at the Carlisle Med Gym. We want to get back to some hip mobility strategies to help you continue moving better, feeling better, and living better by having better hip mobility. And last week, if you recall, we looked at some straight leg raise and some leg lowering exercises to help improve your active straight leg raise test that we looked at the beginning of our series. And we're going to stay on that theme a little bit today, and we're going to work on still improving your active straight leg raise, but we're going to work on the other half of it. So if you recall, when you're doing a leg raise on the ground, we made you set up with both legs straight, raising one leg and maintaining the other leg flat on the ground in extension. So to perform that successfully, not only do you have to be able to flex that leg that's raising, but you also have to be able to maintain that bottom leg in extension without letting the knee bend or the foot rotate out or compensating. And if you don't have enough hip extension flexibility, you're going to run into some trouble when it comes to that leg raise assessment. So today we want to give you a couple hip extension based flexibility exercises that you can work on to improve that hip extension mobility. And the first one we're going to do is a pretty popular exercise, a half kneeling hip flexor mobilization. And I want to show you with a dowel rod because that's how I like to teach it, because it helps to make sure that we're engaging in the proper places. So if I set up back here on the mat, we're going to just take this dowel rod and we're going to put it right out in front of you, and we're going to set up in a good half kneeling position and focus on the hip flexor and the front of the back leg or the down leg. And I'm going to take this dowel rod right out in front of me so my arms are pretty much extended, and I'm still maintaining my tall posture so I'm not collapsed forward. I'm nice and tall, and I'm just pushing down into the ground a little bit. And what that does as I press into the floor with this dowel rod is it engages my core muscles. So as soon as I press down, I feel that core muscle engagement, and that helps to make sure I'm locking the core and the pelvis into a good position to where I can get a legitimate hip flexor stretch. If I don't do that, and what you see a lot of times when people go into hip flexor stretching is they tend to just kind of collapse the back and collapse forward and let their pelvis drop forward instead of engaging at the core and engaging at the back leg glute muscle and really getting the hip flexor. So we want to make sure we engage the core. We're going to drive down into the floor, and all we're going to do from here is make sure you maintain that core tension, that back leg glute is braced, and you're gliding forward until you feel a good stretch right on the front of that hip. I usually like to hold for a couple breaths. Relax back out of it and reset and go again. Again, doing a couple breath hold rather than a long hold helps to make sure that you can reset and re-engage the core and then glide forward again into a pretty good hip flexor stretch right there. So that's one strategy that we want to give you today to start improving your hip extension with a hip flexor stretch. So go ahead and give that a try.